Welcome to the Finance Marketing Podcast, a show that empowers finance professionals to market their businesses in ways that feel good and actually achieve results. I'm your host, Hillary. I've been working with folks in financial services to develop marketing strategies that work and create results-oriented marketing content since 2020. And I've learned a lot about what works in finance marketing, what doesn't work, and where financial services pros get stuck. Join us each Friday as we explore real, effective ways to market your finance business and connect with folks who truly embody your ideal clients. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Finance Marketing Podcast and welcome to 2026. I hope that everyone has had an amazing holiday season. And if you are listening to this on January 2nd or even the first week of January, I hope that you are in that fresh start energy mode that so many of us feel at the beginning of a new year. I am in the middle of writing down all of my goals for the new year, choosing my focus word for 2026, which is something that I really love to do. And I am excited about a lot of different things this year. So today I want to talk about what marketing might look like in 2026. I want to cover, things that are changing, what's staying the same, and what I'm really excited about and why I'm excited about kind of where we're heading, even though, yes, there are, of course, some challenges that we need to talk about. And those challenges, those are real challenges that a lot of people are facing. Website traffic is down for most people across the board. LinkedIn impressions certainly are not what they used to be as LinkedIn turns kind of more to a pay-to-play type environment. One YouTube video can get hundreds of thousands of views while the next gets 8. I have actually seen that with a client of mine. So the algorithms are all just feeling really, really unpredictable. AI is completely changing up the search landscape and how people are searching for information. And I know especially, as a marketer, it feels like just in the past year, maybe 2, and certainly ahead into the next few years, the rules of the game just really keep changing on us, and that can be really frustrating and demoralizing. But ever the optimist, I'm always trying to think about, in my own business and working with clients, is how can these challenges actually create bigger opportunities for us? And I think that there are some really big opportunities ahead that I'm super excited about. So if you are feeling overwhelmed or very uncertain about your marketing in 2026, this episode is absolutely for you. I'm excited to talk about what is actually changing, what the core principles are that will never ever change, and most importantly, what you can do now to really set yourself up for success this year. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I want to start with some of the challenges. I mentioned a few of these a couple minutes ago, and I really think that we need to be honest about what's happening out there, because when we name them, we can solve for them. So first up is platform unpredictability. And this is a big one that I'm hearing from so many of my clients. I'm seeing it in my own business. We have advisors who have been posting consistently on LinkedIn for years and years. And suddenly, even though they have a huge audience, their impressions have dropped drastically. And that seems to be even more the case for those with smaller audiences. So it can really be just super demoralizing. Same thing is happening on YouTube. Same thing is happening on Instagram. Same thing is happening on X. One post might go viral. It might go viral with the wrong audience even. And then the next post gets like 30 views or less. And so it can feel like you're showing up, you're being consistent, you're creating content, and the results are just all over the place. You just really have no idea when something's going to work and when it's not. And unfortunately, this is just the nature of algorithms and platforms where you have zero control over what changes they make, what they decide to show and promote more in the feed on a certain day. All of those kinds of things. And we really just can't control any of it. So in order to kind of smooth out the chaos, it's important to diversify. It's important to build assets that you actually own. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes here. But before I do, I want to go to the second big challenge, which is that as the search landscape is changing and AI really takes over how people consume information and how they find the information that they need, is that website traffic is declining. So people are simply asking tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude for information, for answers to their really specific questions, even for recommendations, before they go to Google and click through to websites. It's just taking so much more time now for them to go to Google and to click through different websites to try to find, the answers that they're looking for, or even the fit that they're looking for. If they're directly searching for a financial advisor or a financial coach, it's a lot easier for a lot of people to go directly to ChatGPT and say, I'm looking for a coach who can do this, this, and this. Can you recommend anyone? And so it's becoming really, really important for you to be showing up not only on the first page of Google, but also to be recommended and cited by some of these AI tools. Even if you are cited by the AI tools, though, which is great, people might get their answer from something directly like an AI overview, and they might not be clicking through to your actual site. So it's harder to track whether your efforts are really working or not. And that's really frustrating. Now, I do want to say this does not mean that your website doesn't matter. Absolutely not. Because when people are really serious about hiring a financial advisor and they're evaluating who you are, your website is still really the hub of your entire online presence. So it absolutely does matter. But we also need to shift how we think about getting people there. You have to give people reasons to visit your website. You have to talk about your website content on social media and draw attention to it. You cannot abandon your website in this moment. You need to keep it fresh. You need to keep it updated with fresh posts, things that are answering people's questions. And you have to optimize that content for AI search so that when people do ask the right questions, you are the one showing up. You are the one that's getting recommended for your niche. And honestly, you also need to recognize that getting website traffic shouldn't be your only goal anymore. An equally important goal, maybe even more important, is getting people onto your email list. Because what I will recommend to my dying day as a marketer is that your email list is more reliable than any algorithm controlled platform. When you have somebody's email address, you can reach them directly. You're not at the mercy of LinkedIn deciding whether or not to show your post. You're not just hoping that YouTube or Instagram Reels or TikTok or what have you picks up your video. You just hit send and you're in their inbox. You can almost guarantee that they are at the very least going to see your name in their inbox and you're going to be top of mind, where you absolutely cannot guarantee that if they're going to see a social post of yours or a YouTube video of yours or what have you. So one of the big shifts that I am really seeing for 2026 is this focus on email list building as a primary marketing goal, not just a nice to have. And then the final challenge that I'm going to bring up before we get to, what's really not changing is the flood of AI content. This is really the elephant in the room. AI generated content is everywhere, and it falls on the spectrum from being really, really, really shitty content to being really, really, really good content. But it's harder than ever, unfortunately, to get noticed now that everyone is using AI to generate really fast and easy content. And I want to be clear, I am absolutely not anti-AI. I use AI tools in my business. I help my clients learn how to use AI tools strategically. But what I am seeing right now is a lot of business owners, and especially business owners in the finance space, getting lazy with AI. Everybody is just pumping out really generic blog posts that sound like every other generic blog post. They're pumping out really generic social media content that is purely dry educational posts that nobody wants to read anymore because they can get that answer directly applied to their situation in AI tools. And 90% of what I'm seeing has that really distinctive AI voice. Everything is kind of ultra polished. You can recognize the sentence patterns. There are words that everybody seems to be using right now that no one really used before. And it's grammatically perfect, but it is 100% forgettable. And so all that content just ends up blending together into this beige sea that people just don't even want to engage with. And I truly, truly believe that this does more harm to business owners' reputations than it does good. I think what a lot of people are trying to do is they're trying to please algorithms by being consistent, but algorithms are picking up on this too, and human audiences are absolutely picking up on it. So if your AI content creation is purely to just create more content for the sake of having content out there, it's going to sound like everybody else's. You might as well not create it at all because it's not going to stand out. It's not going to connect with anyone. It's not going to generate leads. It's not going to build trust. In fact, it actually might have the opposite effect and cause your audience not to trust you because they can see right away these aren't really your thoughts. These are directly AI generated. How do I know this is what you would actually say? So the challenge for 2026 is how can we use AI as a tool to support our work without losing the human voice that is so important to building trust online, which should be your ultimate goal with any content that you post on social media. It should be to build trust, to create awareness, to create engagement. None of that can happen without your human relatability in there. So another question is, how can we stay efficient without getting lazy or relying too much on the AI tools so that they start to replace our humanness? How do we create content that actually stands out in a world where everyone has access to the same AI tools? How can we make ourselves better? It's frustrating, yes, but I also think that it's somewhat easy because as everyone else gets lazier with the AI tools, the people who are willing to take time to insert their humanness, insert their perspectives, insert their voice into their content, they are going to more easily stand out among the sea of beigeness. And that's what I want to talk about next, because I actually think, these challenges are creating some of the biggest opportunities that we have seen. So what I want to pivot to now is talking about what is not changing. And I think this is the most important part of this conversation. What is not changing is the marketing content that is going to stand out the most is the content that connects with human audiences. That will never change. That has always been the goal of marketing, is to connect with human audiences, to connect with their emotions, to connect with their feelings, because those are the things that drive their decisions. And those connections can only be based on your own human experience and how you bring that into your content. So in this world, anyone can generate 10 blog posts in a day or less with ChatGPT, but the blog post that is actually going to get engaged with and read by human readers is the one that's based on original insights and lived experience and examples from clients and examples from your own life, real client stories, real outcomes. You have to bring your life and your lived experience into your content in 2026. Because AI can't replicate this stuff, because this is the stuff that changes on a day-to-day basis. This is the connections that only a human brain can really make. It's your personal opinions, your unique takes on something, your specific applications of concepts. So I think that this is the number one non-negotiable for 2026. It's not to get lazy with AI content. If you're using AI to help you create content, I am all for that, but you have to be continuously creative. You have to keep showing up as your real human self. And one thing that I'm afraid of for all of us is that as we get more reliant on AI to help us create content, it's going to be harder and harder for our brains to be more creative and original and authentic. So this is one thing that I'm challenging myself to do this year, is to use AI less, but still to use it strategically, because it truly does, I think, lead to better outcomes for me in certain situations. And so that's what I hope for you as well, is that you'll use it strategically, you'll use it with discernment, and that you will never, ever sacrifice your own creativity and originality in your content. Now, the other thing that I think isn't changing are the core channels. Website traffic is down, but that does not mean that blogging is dead. The video algorithms are all over the place, but there's still super, super powerful ways to make people aware of you. And if you can use them to get them into something like an email list, or to connect with you through a video and then click over to your website, that still has a lot of merit. Social media is absolutely still where your audience hangs out. So even though the algorithms are pretty unreliable and can be frustrating, it doesn't mean we can stop creating content there. That's still the primary way that a lot of people find the professionals that they work with in this kind of virtual niche-driven world that we're in right now. Now, email marketing, people have been saying for years and years that email is dead. It is absolutely not. Yes, inboxes are getting more crowded, but again, that is not a reason to not show up yourself, because you are still absolutely going to connect with people. They check their email every day. It would be silly for you not to be in the email inbox. Even webinars, I've heard a couple people say over the past few months, webinars are a thing of the past. Webinars don't work like they used to in 2020. I think webinars are still incredibly effective when done right. I think we have to do some things differently now than we did in 2020 with webinars. But the channel itself, the webinar itself, even if we don't call it a webinar anymore, we call it something like a live session or whatever it might be, they're still incredibly effective. So none of that is going away in 2026. Now, you do have to work harder to make your content stand out. You can't just show up and expect results anymore. You have to be more intentional. But I think that's actually a good thing. I think that's actually going to make it easier for experts to stand out as long as they're following these principles. Now, the third thing that is non-negotiable that I think is not changing is that change is inevitable. It has always been inevitable in marketing. And so if your marketing efforts aren't producing the results that they used to, instead of just getting frustrated, it's time to tweak your approach. You do have to make adaptations. I'm not saying you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you do have to change the way that you do things. Now, I know that can feel really exhausting. It can feel like, oh, I finally figured out LinkedIn and now I have to change everything again. And that's not really what I mean. It's not that you have to change everything, but it's that you have to continuously be open to trying new things and identifying new ways to connect with your audience. So the advisors who are growing, the ones who are continuing to really thrive, they're the ones who are willing to experiment. They pivot when something stops working, and they just stay flexible. They don't get stuck in a rut because they know that that's what happens when you get comfortable. You have to continuously be willing to get uncomfortable when you're marketing and connecting with new audiences. So to round this out, I want to get a little bit tactical. I want to share what you should actually do in 2026 to set yourself up for success. And so I have 3 big strategic shifts that I think are going to make the biggest difference that I'm going to be implementing with my own business, and that I'm absolutely going to be recommending to clients this year. So shift number 1, build your email list and nurture your email list like your business depends on it. I think that email list building should be absolutely a primary goal, not an afterthought. If you up to this point have been relying solely on LinkedIn or YouTube or any platform that you can't control, you have to remember that you're building your business on rented land, and that landlord can change the rules at any time. But your email list will always be yours. Those are direct relationships with people who have raised their hand and said, yes, I do want to hear from you on a more regular basis. Now, one of the most frustrating parts about building an email list is that in the beginning, especially, it can be slow going. Growing an email list organically can really feel like pulling teeth. Even growing it through ads can be really stressful. You don't know if your ad spend is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And it's frustrating. Writing a lead magnet is no small thing. Promoting it on social media takes effort. It takes work. Maybe you get a few signups here and there, and it's not very exciting. But there are ways to grow your email list faster. I mentioned earlier that people say webinars are dead. They're absolutely not. They're one of the ways that I grew my email list by hundreds of people this year without spending a single cent on ads. And if you have a large audience already, they can be even more powerful. I had a consulting session earlier this year, just a couple of months ago, actually, with a potential client who has an absolutely huge LinkedIn following. We're talking northwards of 40,000 followers, but his email list was only 2,000 people. He really had not invested much time and effort into growing the email list because he was so focused on LinkedIn, but he recognized that that was a real liability for his business. He was getting tons and tons of discovery calls per month from his LinkedIn audience, but he realized that if LinkedIn were to suddenly, change the algorithm up on him or even suspend his account temporarily, that would have a big impact on his pipeline. So we strategized how to leverage that LinkedIn audience and build his email list. We talked about a couple of different strategies or lead magnet ideas that he could use. And the one that he was most interested in was collaborative webinars. And I'll talk about this in a second of why I'm recommending collaborative webinars today instead of solo webinars. I think both can still work, but I'm really excited in particular about collaborative webinars. So this particular client, who is an advisor, he set up a collaborative webinar with a colleague who serves the same niche that he did. Now, the colleague was not an advisor themselves, but they did adjacent work. So we have two experts talking about one topic that's highly relevant to both their ideal clients. There was some crossover there. So they only posted about it a few times on LinkedIn. I think the advisor in particular sent an email or two about the webinar to his admittedly still small email list, and they had over 200 signups with new people in just a couple of weeks from a couple of posts. So 200 people who he now has their email address and can follow up with. They've shown interest in his expertise. Many of them are going to attend the webinar. Now these are warm leads that he can nurture over time. And so if he repeats this, over the next year or so, just imagine how much his email list will grow by the end of 2026. And that's really the power of collaborative webinars. It's one of the fastest and most effective ways to grow an email list that I've seen. The reason I love collaborations is because you're cross-pollinating audiences with each other. So you're not just trying to attract people who have never heard of you to a webinar that may or may not be super relevant to them. You're cross-pollinating audiences with another expert who has grown an audience that trusts them. And so then there's trust by association there that you can both really benefit from. So everyone wins, everyone walks away with new email subscribers. This is going to be a really huge focus for me in 2026, as it was in 2025. And so this brings me to my second strategic shift, which is to invest in collaborations really across the board. I think collaborative webinars are one of the most powerful ways to do this, but the broader principle here is that collaboration is a really fast way to grow your audience, build your credibility, and also strengthen your referral relationships all at once. So I've heard a lot of advisors complain this year, as I've been talking about referrals, that their COIs really aren't referring to them as much as the advisors feel like they're referring out. And so this is a really great way to strengthen those referral relationships and keep the referrals coming on a more reliable basis. So when you collaborate with someone else, you're not just creating content for your existing audience, you're getting in front of their audience too. You're strengthening that relationship with them as well so that they can see more of what kind of work you do. You're top of mind for them more. There's more opportunity for you to really strategize about how you can both serve your clients really, really well. And you're building social proof by association. So what this could look like in practice beyond collaborative webinars is you could write collaborative articles with another advisor or a CPA or an estate planning attorney. You could publish it on both of your websites, or you could publish it as a LinkedIn newsletter where you tag each other and you both share it with your social media audiences. Other things you could do are joint podcast episodes or podcast swaps if you both have podcasts where you kind of interview each other or discuss a topic together. You could co-host a live Q&A session on LinkedIn. You could do a resource swap with each other's email lists. So if you promote each other's lead magnets, that's a really great way to get access to each other's audiences. The possibilities here are really endless, but the key is to find partners who serve the same niche as you, but offer complementary rather than competitive services. So you're not competing for the same clients, but you're serving them in different ways. And that ultimately is better for the clients as well. I really think this is one of the most underutilized strategies I see in our industries. I think advisors are so focused on doing a lot of things themselves that they miss out on the massive leverage that comes from strategic partnerships. I think this does require a little bit of a mindset shift. I know there's some fear out there around client poaching, and is this person going to disagree with any of the strategies that I've recommended, or are they going to badmouth any of the strategies that I've recommended, things like that. And so it requires, yes, a mindset shift to more collaboration over competition. And I think it also requires choosing your collaborative partners really strategically, and building those relationships with the same goals in mind. So this year, I want you to think about who could you collaborate with, in what ways could you collaborate with them, and reach out to them, propose a few ideas, and start building those relationships. Anything that you create, What I mean by being human first is that your content should be rooted in real insights, real experiences, and real human connection. We cannot default to posting answers to generic questions anymore. Like, what is a Roth conversion? Or what is, I don't know why that's just popped into my head, but what is a gold IRA or something like that? We can't just answer those basic questions anymore. In fact, I think it's been this way for quite a while. And we're finally realizing how ineffective those types of articles and social posts really are. Those are things that have been answered by huge content giants like NerdWallet and Investopedia for years. Now they're being answered by ChatGPT and Google AI overviews and things like that. Now we need to focus on creating content that is really, really original, that is really based on your insights. Creating content on new immersions into the landscape before anyone else has had time to formulate those ideas can be really, really powerful. So, for example, I'm thinking about in marketing, myself even has I've been reluctant to comment on things like AEO or GEO because these are new things coming onto the marketing arena that we don't know a lot about yet. And I admire so many people in the industry like Brian Thorpe of Wealth Tender and Brent Carnduff, who does SEO for advisors. They've written these really comprehensive, really helpful articles sharing what little we do know and sharing their own thoughts and opinions on these topics. And so their articles have quickly become some of the most authoritative pieces in the space. And so that's something that I'm taking into 2026 with me. And I hope that all of you take into 2026 with you as well. As new things come on the scene, share your thoughts and ideas around those new things, because your pieces that you come out with will become some of the leading pieces, some of the most up-to-date pieces as everyone else catches up. So I just want to give you full permission to create content with ideas that may feel half formulated so far, with ideas that maybe ask more questions than they answer, to get other people thinking and to get people in conversation and engaged with you. I think another really, really important thing to focus on in 2026 is content that's built around case studies. Case studies are so powerful because they're real. They bring human nuance into content that AI truly cannot come up with. They're based on real humans, real advisor work. They show real outcomes and results. They have, again, those nuances there that other people will connect with and relate to. Plus, a lot of potential clients and consumers out there still to this day feel fuzzy about what advisors really do, partly because you can be an insurance salesman and call yourself a financial advisor. Whereas on the other hand, we have advice-only advisors who are really just giving advice on financial situations. It's confusing for people. Case studies unequivocally show what you do and how much more impactful you are in clients' lives than just selling an insurance policy or just managing a portfolio. And so that's another reason why I think case studies, they not only kind of fight against this flow of super generic AI generated content, but they also do a really good job of showing exactly what you do and exactly what kind of problems you can help somebody solve. So a really good case study, it shows the client situation before working with you. It shows the really specific challenges they were facing, the financial and emotional challenges they were facing. It shows the strategies that you implemented. I really like case studies that show exact numbers or can quantify, the results or the outcomes that they had. And it shows those really tangible outcomes that the clients experienced. So this is proof, it's storytelling, it's differentiation, all wrapped into one type of content. And this is content that you can publish as blog posts. You can create them as PDFs that live on your website and that you deliver in prospect conversations during discovery calls. They can become emails, they can become social posts. You can really bring case studies to all the different channels that you're showing up on. But I really think that they should be a core part of your strategy in 2026. Now, you can absolutely use AI to help you structure or polish the writing, but the substance, that all comes from your actual work with actual clients. So in 2026, I am going to be launching a monthly case study package where advisors can get a new case study every month from me and my team, repurposed across channels. So we'll create you a new PDF deliverable every month. We'll write it as a blog post for you. We'll create social media posts out of it, and we'll create email newsletter content for you as well so that you can be consistently nurturing your audience with relevant stories for them. So if that's something of interest to you, make sure to reach out to me this year. You can email me at hillary@monetacopy.com because I really do believe that case studies is one of the best ways for advisors to stand out right now and to show and not just tell. So I know I've kind of thrown a lot at you in this episode. We've talked about some of the challenges that we're all facing across the board right now. We've talked about some of the strategic shifts, and we've talked about a couple of specific tactics that you can use this year. Things like collaborating with other experts so that you can get instant access to other audiences, case studies, growing your email list, all of those good things. So to wrap up, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about why, despite all of these challenges and changes, I'm actually really excited about what's to come in 2026. So I think that we're in the middle of a really massive shift in marketing right now and in how clients are engaging with us online and even engaging with us in the office, whether that's in person or virtual. And I think in the middle of all of that, it can feel really destabilizing, but I also think it's creating this really great opportunity for advisors who are willing to show up authentically, think strategically, try new things. Whereas the ones who are just going to try to shortcut everything with AI are going to fade into the background noise. So in this kind of weird way, the challenges that we're facing are actually making it easier to stand out for those who are willing to do the work and are willing to be creative and authentic and strategic. I've seen this in my own business over the past year. I came back from a 3-month maternity leave in January 2025. And in the space of the past 12 months, I really quickly evolved from being more of a content order taker to being a really important marketing strategist in the lives of my clients. So instead of just writing whatever content clients ask for, I have been honored to help them think about how their content fits into their full marketing strategy, what their goals are, what results they're trying to achieve, how each piece of content moves them closer to those goals. Because I know firsthand that content for content's sake absolutely does not work anymore. I don't think it was working that well anyways. But in 2026, you are just going to have to be strategic. You have to be intentional, and you have to be willing to try new things when the old things stop working. So that's what 2026 is going to be all about: being really strategic, being human first in your marketing, and actually connecting with people how they want to be connected with. So if you take 3 things away from this episode, this is what I want them to be. Number 1, build your email list. Make this a primary goal in 2026. And if you want it to grow fast, invest in collaborative webinars with referral partners. This is the single most effective strategy that I have seen, not only in my own business, but with clients as well. So invest in those collaborations. Don't try to do everything yourself. Partner with other professionals who serve your same niche. You can do collaborative webinars, absolutely, but do collaborative articles with them, do joint webinars, build relationships that benefit everyone. And number 3, do not get lazy with AI content. I think always remembering to use it as a tool and not a crutch is going to be so, so important. But focus on those original insights, those real client stories, your authentic voice. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. And that is what is going to differentiate you in a sea of generic AI generated content. And of course, if you need help with any of this, whether it's your case studies or webinar launches or just thinking through your overall marketing strategy, I and the whole Moneta team is here for you. You can reach out to us through our website or connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email, again, at hillary@monetacopy.com. I'll give you a couple of different ways to connect with me in the show notes. I would love to support you. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being part of this community, and thank you for showing up and doing the hard work of marketing your business in a way that connects with your ideal clients. So here's to an amazing year ahead. I cannot wait to see what you create this year. I will catch you back here next Friday for our next episode. Until then, Happy New Year and happy planning for the year ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Finance Marketing Podcast. If you're eager to market your business in a way that feels good and actually gets results, sign up for the Finance Marketing Podcast newsletter in the show notes so you never miss another episode. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening app and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you back here next Friday.